Cédric has been growing cereals in the Beauce region for over 25 years. But these days, he is worried about the future of his business, with the main problem being the price of these sacks.
This is the white gold, the ammonia nitrate fertilizer. We use it to feed the plants. It's a little like our breakfast as humans. We put down the granules to kickstart the plant so it can begin growing.
Over the last 2 years, his bills have more than tripled.
My strategy isn't to apply less, but to be more efficient. The fertilizer applied must be useful to the plant. I work a lot with decision support tools and satellite images. They look at the nitrogen nutrition index of the plants and tell me, in this place you have to apply so many units of nitrogen, and that in another there's no need to add more.
The main cause of his problems, the war in Ukraine. The EU used to import nearly half of its chemical fertilisers from Russia, Belarus and Ukraine. The price of gas has also skyrocketed, a resource essential to the manufacture of the produce. France is Europe's first consumer of these fertilisers, as they generate significant yields.
There's demand in terms of production. We have markets, we produce mainly for human consumption, but there is also the important quality control. These days, when you sell wheat to a Moroccan or Egyptian miller, he has demands in terms of different proteins that indicate an optimal flour quality.
But chemical fertilisers also have an environmental cost, from the moment they are created to their eventual use, something which scientists have been warning for years.
There's a cost in terms of energy in synthetic fertiliser manufacture. Don't forget that it takes the equivalent of 1 tonne of oil to manufacture 1 tonne of nitrate fertilisers.
However, all is not lost. There are some cleaner solutions available. Here in the northwest of France, this fertiliser manufacturer recycles byproducts from the beetroot industry. All these suppliers are located less than 200 kilometres from here.
To make a ton of produce here, we use 100 times less energy than to make a ton of chemical fertilizer.
The raw materials are compacted into granules, which will nourish not only the plant, but also the soil. The company assures, based on tests, that the yields of its produce are superior to those of chemical fertilizers for an equivalent price.
The origin of our produce is essential, because it is precisely thanks to this plant origin that we can offer solutions that are different to chemicals. Only our products offer the right content of trace elements, amino acids and sugars. The fertility of the soil depends on these elements. It's like us human beings, we grow better if we have a healthy and balanced diet.
There is another way. Thomas has chosen to use the most natural methods to fertilize his soil.
In organic farming, we mainly use alfalfa, which is a legume that captures nitrogen from the air and fixes it in the soil, unlocking the nitrogen. This restores the nitrogen content over several years during crop rotation. We switch between alfalfa, wheat, a spring crop, corn, beetroot. This rotation allows us to always have enough nitrogen to get a good crop yield.
Weakened by the end of state-funded subsidies for organic farming and by a drop in demand, Thomas would prefer the system to create profits for those who choose the most sustainable farming practices.
We don't pollute the water, we don't pollute the air, we don't pollute the soil, we capture carbon. Our actions lead to better health for the general public, less social security expenditure, but no one is talking about it. The only thing that seems to matter is how much my wheat or carrots cost, but organic is clearly much more effective and much more efficient than conventional methods of farming.
France can continue to feed its entire population without the use of chemical fertilizers by transforming its agricultural model and bringing manure-producing livestock closer to the fields that need fertilizing.
Animals also ensure a part of the fertilization process through their excretions.
We would, however, need to change our diet.
More than 2/3 of the protein we consume is of animal origin: meat, milk, eggs, fish. To produce 1 kilo of animal protein, 5 times as much vegetable protein is needed to feed the animals. And so the more meat and milk we consume, the more agricultural production we need. But looking at it in another way, 1/3 of animal protein per 2/3 of vegetable protein eaten is possible. And the icing on the cake is that it's also much healthier.
In France, the agricultural sector is the second largest emitter of greenhouse gases behind the transport sector, and almost half of these emissions are due to chemical fertilisers.